As mentioned previously, the TAP protocol can serve any kind of files, including tabular data, image descriptions, source catalogs, and so on. It is a standard way to expose a portion of or a complete astronomical relational database into the VO. Here is a schematic diagram of VO building blocks supporting TAP client-server interactions. On the top layer, a client can query a VO server. On the server side, we note the Data Access Layer Interface, or DALI, that supports user queries via the Universal Worker System and serving of data description via the Virtual Observatory support interface. DALI serves as interface between the user and the data storage. A TAP service must implement 3 resources that describe the supported capabilities, published content, and service availability. These resources are compliant with the VOSI standard, which specifies the schema applied to the XML responses. REST architecture helps accessing the description of a TAP service from the browser. In this REST setup, metadata description of tables can be found at /tables. Particular service capabilities can be determined by querying the VO registry. The underlying database subset exposed in the TAP service is described in 5 tables gathered in a schema named TAP schema. These tables are schemas, which is the list of exposed schemas, tables, the list of exposed tables, columns, the list of all columns, keys, list of foreign key relations between tables, and keys columns, list of columns part of a foreign key relation. The tables contain a description of the schema, the tables and the tables columns. The description itself contains metadata and semantic labels. Metadata is described by a name, data type, and units, and the semantic labels is described by a text description, a UCD, or a U-type pointing to the data model node. The TAP schema also includes a description of how tables can be joined. Table joins help retrieve the components of complex data split over several tables. It does not prevent users to join tables in any other ways. The default query language for TAP is ADQL. ADQL includes most features of SQL, plus there is no limitation on how to filter data, for instance the where clause, no restriction on columns of the query results, the select clause. It supports spatial search functions, making positional cross-matching between tables easy. It enables to access temporary tables uploaded by the user, and does not support embedded procedures or statement modifying the database content. TAP queries are therefore more flexible than those of the simple protocols. Here is an example of an ADQL query for positions for sources from USNO. The sources are located at less than 1 arcminute of the center of Messier 1. As you can see, the query looks much like SQL. We have the select clause to select the fields, the from clause to select the tables, and the where clause to impose some constraints. In addition, we note functions like contains, point, and circle. On the client side, connecting a TAP service is easy, thanks to RESTful. There is one address per resource, which returns either XML files containing job status or metadata, or VO table files, including error reports or data. Other response formats may also be supported. A TAP service can process queries either synchronously or asynchronously. This is part of the DALI specification. Synchronous queries are stateless, where HTTP request parameters, such as query string, output format, and so on, are passed either in GET or POST HTTP mode. The request returns the result or an error report. This is done in a VO table or any other supported output format. Asynchronous queries are processed by stateful requests based on the UWS pattern. As opposed to synchronous queries, here, request parameters are passed in POST mode. The response is an XML file containing information about the jobs and an ID used to address further operations. The client is in charge of monitoring the job phase before a post-completion transfer is done. If execution duration exceeds the limit imposed by the service, an error status is enclosed in the resulting VO table. If the number of rows exceeds the maximum allowed by the service, the result is truncated and flagged.